outside? Should I run and hide? How do I take my company worldwide? Do you love the law? Did you watch Hee-Haw? What's the weirdest thing that you ever saw? What's it like in court? Favorite sport? Can you help with my book report? Is my hair too long? Am I right or wrong? And do you mind if I sing along to anything? Ask Alan anything in the world.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Ask Alan, the podcast. I'm Alan Crone, the CEO of the Crone Law Firm. And today we have a very special guest, Bishop Terry Steib, who is the Bishop Emeritus of Memphis, Tennessee. Emeritus just means that he gets to be a bishop, but he doesn't have to be the bishop anymore. Bishop Steib, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Glad that you asked me to be part of this.
For those of you who may not be familiar with the Catholic tradition, bishops are the pastors of a certain geographic area, in this case, West Tennessee. And Bishop Steib was our bishop, my bishop, for about 23 years, and ordained me as a deacon, and I'm forever grateful for that. And Bishop, you were originally from Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, correct?
As a religious, yes.
Okay. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in a little town called Vacherie, Louisiana.
Louisiana. Okay. And what kind of give us a little bit of an idea? How did you go from there to a professed religious priest? I know that covers a lot of real estate, but you know, how did the Lord call you to be a priest?
Well, when I was thinking about what I wanted to be when I would grow up, of course, I was in Louisiana, Vacherie, Louisiana. It's a small town, sugarcane plantations, and that's where my dad worked in. And I looked around me to see what are possibilities. What did I want to do or be? Did I want to be like my dad and work in the sugarcane fields? Sugarcane is good, we all need it, and that's great, but is that what I wanted to do and to be? So I looked around and saw those who were kind of leaders in this little town. I saw the priests and the ministers. I saw the policemen. I saw the doctors, because I felt I wanted to be able to help people in some form, fashion, or other. I considered the doctors, but then I was having trouble dissecting frogs. So I figured that's not going to help me when I wanted if I have to work with people. I saw the policemen, and so policemen do great work. They take care of us. But did I kind of want to have my life on the line all the time as it seemed at the time? And I said, no, I didn't want to do that. I saw the priests and ministers and saw how they were helping people to move into their life, to make life decisions for themselves, teaching them what is good and what is right to do. And I thought that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to move into that area. And I thought about becoming a priest then. At the time, however, it was not being a diocesan priest was not feasible, because there were no seminarians going to no African American seminarians going into the seminaries then. But I saw the Divine Word missionaries. They had a seminary in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, and it was specifically for African American congregations. So I decided to do that, and I joined what they call the Future Priest Club. Just someone to help along to see if this is what you wanted to do and this is what you wanted to be. And eventually I went to the seminary in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi. It was a minor seminary, the high school there. From there, I went to Canisius, New York for the novitiate, which is kind of boot training for religious life. For 2 years, took simple vows and finished up with college. Then I went from 2 years there, but then 2 years into Canisius, New York. Canisius, well, that's where I was, Canisius, New York. 2 years into Technical Illinois, which is for philosophy. and then back down to Bay St. Louis, Mississippi for theology. And I was ordained a priest then in January 6th of 1967.
So you touched on one thing that I think is important to talk about, and that is in the 60s, I guess the diocese where you grew up was not welcoming, or at least didn't have a program for African Americans to study for the priesthood. You know, as a white Catholic, I don't know what to ask you about that, other than how did you overcome that rejection on one hand and find the acceptance that you needed to continue your ministry?
Well, the Divine Word missionaries were missionaries at Portland. We went to those places where the gospel wasn't fully proclaimed and worked with that. And going to the seminary brought a lot of people, of young men from all over the U.S. to the seminary, and we were taught from there, that there is one God, etc. And we moved that. And the seminary had its various seminaries in different provinces in the United States. So that's where we learned the world is bigger than just who we were ourselves. So that kept me going. And then seeing the African American priests who were ordained and working in Louisiana or Mississippi, those were my role models. Those were the ones that I had to work, found really lovable, and be able to work with them and to work on that from their shoulders on to the next generation.
Was the parish you grew up in, was it staffed by Divine Word priests?
No, it was a diocesan priest.
How did you find the Divine Word?
Very supportive of them too.
Yeah. How did you get connected with the Society of the Divine Word?
Through mailings, through contact with them, and then once I made the contact, they would come to visit. One of the vocation director would come to visit to see how we're doing and what were we thinking about.
Were there other kids in your parish that were similarly interested, or were you the only one?
There was one other, but he was going towards another religious community, and it was kind of a hard decision to make, because being in Louisiana, we never left home. I was the oldest and very much needed by my mom and dad for the working. But they always felt that they wanted us to be just like them, but better than they were. So to get the education, we had to move out. So that's when I went to Bay St. Louis.
All right, very good, very good. Now you were later ordained a bishop as an auxiliary for the Archdiocese of St. Louis. Same name, not the same area, a little bit farther north.
Right.
Not every priest is asked to be a bishop. Some see it as a blessing. Some see it maybe not quite such a blessing. How does one go from being a religious priest to a bishop, or at least how did you go from one to the other?
Well, that's an interesting story, because I was at the time I was provincial superior for the southern province, of the Divine Word missionaries, and I was into the second year of my third term, knowing that after that they couldn't ask me to be in administration anymore, and I was so looking forward to going into pastoral ministry somewhere, that I said, okay, I'm almost there. And then I got the call. This was from Archbishop May in St. Louis, Missouri. And he and I had worked together because I was on the religious committee of the Bishops' Conference. And so he called and said that he had the news that the auxiliary bishops for St. Louis were being appointed. And I was saying to myself, so what? And then he said, well, and I want you to know that you are one of those being appointed. What do you think about that? And I said, Archbishop May, I really don't know what to think about it, because all of my life has been in terms of religious and doing whatever I'm asked to as a religious. So I don't know what to think about that. Well, he says, well, indeed, you are one of those being the Holy Father is going to appoint you. And I will call you back in the morning and we'll talk about it. Well, I didn't sleep a wink that night. I just wondered, well, what is this all about? All of my life has been in the South, you know. What did it mean going up to St. Louis, Missouri? Just stared out in the window and watching every leaf that moved. And then Archbishop May, luckily for him, he called early next morning. How did you sleep last night? I said, Archbishop May, I'm hoping I had a nightmare. He says, no. He says, you are going to be appointed the auxiliary bishop of St. Louis. And I said, well, if that's the Lord's will, okay, I'll be okay with it. He says, and he says, we're thinking about making the appointment known next week. Can you be in St. Louis this coming week? And I said, oh my God, I said, I thought maybe I had a month just to think about this a while, you know. He says, no, we want to make the appointments right away. So I said, okay, I think I could be there. And at the time, you couldn't tell anyone what was happening with yourself. So I decided I was going to go back to base St. Louis, Mississippi, because I had been visiting the priests in Louisiana to see what their future would be like. So I said, but before I go back, I'm going to stop home and have some home cooking with my mom and dad. So I thought, well, that's pretty good. Well, after supper, my mom begins. She says, I've been having this strange dream lately. I've been dreaming that I'm in a big church and people are coming around to congratulate me. I really don't know what this means. It means I'm going to die. I guess it's okay, but it doesn't seem to mean that. And all the while I'm thinking to myself, Lord, it's not fair of you to use my mom to tell me what to do. It's not fair of you to do that, you know. And all I can say is, Mom, I think maybe in about a week or so we can clarify your dream for you. And I said, wow. And then I went back to base St. Louis. So the Lord was using my mom to tell me what I should do with this. Because that had been in my mind to take, or except that was not the avenue I was looking to go down. So come February of 84, when my mom got to St. Louis, that was the big church that she had been in her dreams.
Wow.
So afterwards, I said, Mom, please don't dream anymore.
She had any dreams about Italy?
No.
But well, you know, that's a great story, and it probably was exactly what you needed to hear. Oh, yeah. That this wasn't just some political, you know, hey, this was God calling you to be a bishop. Right.
Because I've always thought, you know, here's what I want to do. Here's what I'd like to be. Here's where I'd like to go, you know. But somehow the Lord always had other things in mind. And I just came to learn that God had sent me down some strange avenues, but always his grace was there enough for me to keep going. So I thanked him.
That's right. Yeah, I tell young people, and I know you do too, that you ought to pray over, you know, all decisions. Where are you going to college? What are you going to do in your life? And it's not just necessarily what I want to do. It's, you know, Lord, what are you calling me to do? How can I use the talents that you've given me in the best way? And I've often said, Bishop, and I hope you take this in the spirit it's intended, that that I always thought that you would have been perfectly happy and maybe even preferred to be Father Terry in a parish hall rather than Bishop Terry in a cathedral, but you go where the Lord tells you to go.
That's right. I put it this way: I've had to learn to bloom where I'm planted.
I like that. Now, I hope this doesn't embarrass you. I don't think so. you met Saint John Paul the second. I would imagine several times on an ad limina visit. And can you tell us the story of why he thought maybe you were from Europe?
Well, when I met, kind of my first ad limina with him, and he went around introducing himself, to the various bishops, and I said I was, Bishop Terry Steib. He says, Steib. He says that is a German name. I said, well, yes, we have many of those in Louisiana. Steib spelled differently. And he said, oh, okay, fine, Steib. He says, and then I said, well, and you're African American, you're Black. I said, yes, that's part of it from my heritage also for that. So from him, he was just fascinated by that. So when he would introduce himself the second time to me, he said, here is Bishop Steib, our Black German.
Well, that not bad to have a nickname from a saint.
That's right.
Well, very, very good, very good. Well, what was it like to be bishop in Memphis? I know you served in St. Louis. I graduated from the minor seminary in Belleville, Illinois in 1983. So I just missed you up there. But you shortly came to Memphis. And what was it like taking over the Diocese of Memphis? What was that, 90? Was that in the 90s? 93, yes.
It was a entirely different experience for me because I was first surprised that I was being asked to come to Memphis in Tennessee. But coming there, I remember once one of the reporters asked the question, well, is the Holy Father appointing you because you're an African American bishop? And my response was, no, the Holy Father is appointing me because I'm qualified. And that was my response to him. And he said, fine, because he thought that was good. But he said, I just had to ask the question. I said, well, good. My answer is that I'm qualified. And that's what I've tried to be ever since, just to qualify to serve the people here in Memphis, from where I am and who I am.
Well, I will say this. My children grew up with you as their bishop. And I was always glad that they had a great spiritual role model in you, not just as a Catholic, but also as an African American. For them to see an African American in a position of authority, I know that's not why you were appointed, but I think that your service has gone a long way to normalizing that, and that's what's needed down the road to bring us all together, is for us to see each other not as black and white, but as Americans, as Catholics, and everything else. And I appreciate, if nothing else, I appreciate your service in that way, and also in making the Catholic Diocese of Memphis as strong as it is now.
Yes, I appreciate that, because that's exactly what I was been trying to do. So how do we, realizing that we are different, but how do we bless these differences and move on, as Christians, as one great people of God. I always would use the phrase, that God is good all the time. And all the time, God is good. And that's how we're called to be. And I'm so happy that many of the people picked up on that and use it. And to this day, I think still remember it. So. Oh,
absolutely. Yeah, you and I were together last week at Our Lady of Sorrows.
Sorrows, right.
And you said God is good, and the whole church all the time. And I could tell the look on your face that you were happy people remembered what they were what they were supposed to say. So that's great. But it is true, and sometimes those pneumatic devices are great just to remind us about the truth of God. And so I guess, on the backside of this conversation, looking back over 23 years as bishop, what do you think was the most important thing that you did as bishop, or the thing that stands out in your mind as something you did for the people of God in West Tennessee?
No, I have several things that I really liked. First, we had as our mission to proclaim the gospel of the Lord, to proclaim it liturgically, spiritually, socially, educationally. And within those components, I'm proud of the things that we have done. We had the education moving. We had our Jubilee schools running. Socially, Catholic Charities was expanding and growing itself. But again, more importantly for me was the fact that how the growth of the spirituality of our people were coming together. We had the men's morning of spirituality, the women's morning of spirituality, and all the Fishes of Men and other groups that formed from that. To this day, still going very strong, still moving, and the people are growing within that. Our retreat center is very active also. So I'm proud of the spiritual components with which the people have grown, so that allows them to continue to grow today and to move on into the tomorrow.
The retreat center, if you haven't been, is a wonderful place. Great facility out in West Tennessee. Get away and reconnect with Jesus. So it's a great thing. Bishop, I appreciate your time. We're just about out, but it's been great to speak with you. I know we've had a couple of different times that we've scheduled, and you're busy, I'm busy. So I really am glad that we're able to put this together. And I guess I'm going to turn the tables on you. God is good.
All the time.
All the time.
God is good.
Very good. And let that be the last word. Thank you all for watching and listening to this episode of Ask Alan, the podcast. If you enjoyed it, and why wouldn't you have enjoyed it? It was great. Please share it with people. Like us on social media. Give it 5 stars. Give Bishop Terry 5 stars on your podcast. Bishop Terry is going to go out and proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ, and I'm going to go out and get some justice. So thank you all very much.